The question of whether Lucifer is truly the Son of God has long been a subject of theological debate, mysticism, and theological interpretation. Lucifer, often depicted in various religious traditions as the embodiment of evil or a fallen angel, occupies a complex and multifaceted role in many faith systems, particularly in Christianity. To explore this issue, one must first understand the different ways in which Lucifer is portrayed in religious texts, including the Bible, as well as how these interpretations have evolved over time. Additionally, an exploration of the nature of God, the concept of divine sonship, and the relationship between God and Lucifer will shed light on the intricacies of this theological question. In Christian theology, the most commonly accepted understanding of Lucifer is that of a fallen angel, one who was once in close communion with God but was cast out of heaven due to his pride and rebellion. This narrative, primarily derived from biblical scriptures such as Isaiah and Ezekiel, paints a picture of Lucifer's transformation from an exalted being to a malevolent force. In contrast to the notion of God having a son, which is central to Christian beliefs about Jesus Christ, Lucifer's role is often seen in opposition to divine authority. To determine whether Lucifer could be considered the Son of God, it is necessary to first examine the concept of sonship as it is understood in Christian doctrine. The New Testament describes Jesus Christ as the Son of God, a title that denotes a unique, divine relationship between Jesus and God. This relationship is not one of equality with God, but rather, a relationship of submission to the Father's will. Jesus is understood to be the incarnation of God on earth, fully divine and fully human, sent to fulfill God's redemptive plan for humanity. In this context, Jesus' sonship is linked to his divine origin and purpose within God's larger plan. In contrast, Lucifer is never referred to in the Bible as a son of God in the same way that Jesus is. Lucifer, as depicted in many religious texts, is described as a created being, an angel, who was made by God but chose to rebel against the divine order. According to Christian doctrine, God is the creator of all things, including angels, and Lucifer was initially a high-ranking archangel who served God before his fall. The Bible, in texts such as Isaiah and Ezekiel, alludes to Lucifer's pride and his desire to ascend to the level of God, leading to his eventual expulsion from heaven. This narrative does not align with the concept of sonship as it is described in relation to Jesus, as Lucifer's actions were not those of a faithful son but of a rebellious being seeking to usurp God's authority. The idea of Lucifer as a rebellious angel is further explored in the story of the fall of Satan, a figure often associated with Lucifer in Christian theology. Satan's rebellion against God is considered to be a pivotal moment in Christian eschatology, marking the beginning of evil and the introduction of sin into the world. This narrative paints Lucifer as a being who sought to challenge God's sovereignty, a desire that ultimately led to his fall from grace. The implications of this story suggest that Lucifer's relationship to God was not one of a son, but rather one of a created being who rejected the divine authority of his creator. However, it is important to note that in some traditions, Lucifer's fall is seen as part of a larger cosmic struggle between good and evil. This dualistic view of the universe sees Lucifer not as a mere adversary of God, but as a figure who plays an essential role in the unfolding of divine history. In this view, Lucifer's rebellion is sometimes interpreted as a necessary element of free will, allowing for the existence of choice and the possibility of moral growth. While this perspective may offer a more nuanced understanding of Lucifer's role, it still does not support the idea that Lucifer is the Son of God, as the divine sonship of Jesus is portrayed in a completely different light. Some fringe or heterodox Christian beliefs might attempt to explore different relationships between Lucifer and God. These interpretations, often found in Gnostic, occult, or apocryphal texts, sometimes portray Lucifer in a more sympathetic light. In these traditions, Lucifer may be seen as a liberator or as a being who challenges the constraints of divine authority in order to bring about a greater understanding or enlightenment for humanity. While these interpretations offer an alternative view of Lucifer's role, they remain outside the mainstream Christian tradition and do not align with the orthodox view of Lucifer as a rebellious figure who opposes God's will. There are also instances in literature and philosophy where Lucifer is depicted as a tragic figure, torn between his inherent beauty and his rebellious nature. Such portrayals often humanize Lucifer, giving him qualities that are relatable to human beings, such as pride, ambition, and a desire for independence. These artistic and literary depictions often attempt to explore the complexity of Lucifer's character and motivations, but they do not necessarily imply that he is the Son of God. Instead, they tend to highlight the tensions between divine authority and personal agency, with Lucifer serving as a symbol of the struggle for self-determination. The question of Lucifer's identity and role also touches on the broader theological debate about the nature of evil and its relationship to God. Many Christian theologians have grappled with the problem of how an all-good, all-powerful God could create a being like Lucifer who would ultimately fall into evil. This dilemma, known as the problem of evil, has led to various theological explanations, ranging from the idea of free will to the notion that evil exists as a consequence of a fallen creation. In any case, the traditional Christian view holds that Lucifer's fall was a result of his own free will and pride, not an intrinsic aspect of his creation by God. This understanding of Lucifer's rebellion is at odds with the idea that he could be considered a divine son, as his actions are framed as a rejection of God's will rather than an expression of divine unity or love. Furthermore, the portrayal of Lucifer in other religious and cultural traditions further complicates the idea of his sonship to God. In some branches of Judaism, Lucifer, often referred to as Satan, is seen not as a fallen angel but as an adversary who serves God by testing human beings and serving as a prosecutor in the heavenly court. In these traditions, Satan's role is more about fulfilling a divine purpose rather than rebelling against God. In these contexts, the idea of Lucifer as a son of God is even less plausible, as his role is not one of sonship but of function within a cosmic order. In the broader context of monotheistic faiths, God is often seen as the ultimate source of all creation, the one who defines and governs the nature of all beings. In this view, Lucifer, like all other beings, is ultimately subordinate to God's will, and his rebellion is framed as a tragic departure from the harmony and order that God intended for the universe. The idea of Lucifer as a son of God undermines this hierarchical understanding of creation and divinity. Instead of being a being who reflects God's will, Lucifer becomes a figure who seeks to overturn that will, placing himself in opposition to God's authority. In conclusion, while the question of Lucifer as the Son of God is intriguing, it does not align with the core tenets of Christian theology. The traditional view of Lucifer as a fallen angel, who rebelled against God and was cast out of heaven, stands in contrast to the concept of sonship as it pertains to Jesus Christ. In Christian doctrine, sonship denotes a unique, divine relationship with God, characterized by obedience and submission to the Father's will. Lucifer, by contrast, is portrayed as a being who rejected God's will in favor of his own ambition. While some alternative interpretations of Lucifer's role exist, they do not support the idea of him as a son of God, but rather as a symbol of rebellion, pride, and the challenge to divine authority. As such, the question of Lucifer as the Son of God remains a theological and doctrinal issue that is firmly answered by the traditional Christian understanding of creation, sin, and divine sonship. We've gotten to the end of this video, and it's good you understood if Lucifer is truly the Son of God. If you find this video interesting, kindly like and subscribe to motivate us to post more content like this. God bless you as you do so.